I'm Julie Wolf, and I'm here with IndieBio's Founder Stories, where we speak with the CEOs of our current IndieBio class to learn a little bit about their technology and the motivations to form their startups. Today, I am speaking with Timothy Boulay, CEO of BioFeyn. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me today, Timmy.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here from my kitchen in France. I'm like Julia Child.
Wonderful. So BioFeyn is a really great name and has a good story behind it as well. Can you explain the inspiration to call your company BioFeyn?
Absolutely. Well, there's two dimensions to the name, of course. There's bio and there's fine. Bio because it's biological. We're dealing with the biological world. And fine is just a truncation of Feynman, Richard Feynman, the father of nanotechnology. And what we are doing is we are developing nanotechnological solutions for aquaculture or fish farming. So the other fun part about our name is that BioFeyn can be pronounced BioFyn, which evokes fin, fish, and so on. So there's really no wrong way to say it. BioFeyn, that's right. BioFyn, that's right too.
Wonderful. And you also call your product a fine in that same vein. I pronounce it fine, so I guess that's what we'll call it in this conversation. It's a novel way to deliver some of these nutrients or additives that you're talking about. So why don't we define exactly what that fine looks like?
Absolutely.
It's terrible pun. Define fine.
A fine it's effectively a nanocapsule. And what we're doing in building these nanocapsules is that we are increasing the efficiency of certain ingredients that are used in aquaculture. So there's massive problems in aquaculture with pollution, with cost, with animal mortality. And part of the reason for that is that ingredients are expensive and they don't work very well and they're leaked into the environment. And so by encapsulating them, we can increase their efficiency by an order of magnitude, by tenfold. And so what we are encapsulating are these existing ingredients that are already out there on the market. So we're not doing anything, pulling in anything new that needs to go through this process of regulation because we're simply using existing ingredients. And there's many examples of that.
And those existing ingredients are the cargo that you will be delivering, as well as the things that are on the outside of the fine, the shell, or what I imagine would be the capsule.
Yeah, and well, I mean, as we're in the ocean theme, I think that's an appropriate thing to call it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how it works is that we build the capsule using ingredients that, by happenstance, are also approved for use in aquaculture. And in fact, some of them are marine-derived ingredients. So natural ingredients, nothing toxic about this, sort of very healthy and sustainable and biodegradable. And then within that, you encapsulate things. And you can encapsulate something like an omega-3 fatty acid. So this is an interesting story. Do you know where farmed fish get their omegas?
I don't, but I bet you do. Where?
Well, I can tell you exactly. So farmed fish get their omega-3 fatty acids from other fish. The kind of fish that we eat that are farmed oftentimes are predators. So like salmon, for example, is an ocean predator. It eats other fish, and in that process, it gets omega-3s, becomes nutritious. Then we eat the salmon, and we have increased cardiovascular and brain health as a result of these omegas. The problem is to get these little fish into these big fish, you've got to get them from someplace, right? And where you get those little fish is the ocean. And so by going through this process, using these traditional omegas that come from wild fish, you're causing multiple dimensions of environmental harm.
So you're taking fish out of the ocean. That seems counterintuitive to using aquaculture as a solution to maintain the ocean's populations.
Exactly, right? And this is a big problem, right? So, people don't want to eat these little fish that go into the salmon, but we do want to eat the big fish, the big salmon. The problem is taking these little fish out of the ocean disrupts ocean ecosystems, of course, and you take little fish out, you end up having fewer big fish in the ocean as well, right? So that's a problem. There's also this concept called the FIFO in aquaculture, fish in, fish out ratio. Very often it takes more fish as an input than the output of fish that you feed humans. And so there's an imbalance there. However, there are some companies that are developing new types of omegas that don't require this intermediary step of taking fish out of the ocean. The natural environmental source for omega-3 fatty acids is in fact algae. And so the little fish eat these omegas in the algae and pass them up the food chain. But some really smart entrepreneurs have found a way to grow these algae that can then be directly passed into this fish farming cycle. The problem with that is that at the moment they're very expensive and inefficient. And so with our technology, by being able to encapsulate them, increase their efficiency, reduce the amount that's needed by an order of magnitude, you can make the economics work, and you can also make the fish healthier because you can be jamming the omegas in there to get the most nutritious fish that you want.
And you don't have to take the fish out of the ocean in order to do that.
They can stay where they are. Exactly. The little fish can. I don't know if you know who Sylvia Earle is. She's the Sylvia is people call her deepness. She's like the Jane Goodall of the ocean space, very famous ocean explorer. Mm-hmm. And she's constantly going on about this, about leave the fish in the ocean. There's plenty of other things that we can eat, And now with aquaculture, we can eat fish, but we don't need to be taking the fish out of the ocean. There's other ways to do this.
So your product portfolio is going to have some fine that will have omega-3s in it, but it sounds like this technology will allow you to build a portfolio of different types of additives. What are some of the other additives that you might encapsulate into a fine?
Yeah, so there's many opportunities. We've got looking to the future, we've got a horizon of potential ingredients that we're going to encapsulate. Some of them are marine derived. Astaxanthin, that's the stuff that makes salmon pink. Also a very expensive ingredient, and it is marine derived in many cases. Many micronutrients that are important for both fish health and for animal health. Medicines are a tricky one. Sometimes fish need them to stay healthy. There are certain things that they can't fight off on their own. The problem is that if you use too much, this can be a problem for fish health, and it's very often generally a problem for environmental health. So these are very carefully regulated. But with this encapsulation technology, we can reduce the amount of medicines that are used by an order of magnitude. And that works better for everyone. Works better for the animals, works better for the environment, and works better for the regulators.
That's great. So in addition to the omega-3s, which you mentioned will increase the nutrient profile of these farmed fish, you plan to incorporate other types of products as well. Can you maybe tell the journey of future iterations?
So we've got a whole roadmap about this. Ultimately, we are planning to create a platform technology where our nanocapsules, our capsules can encapsulate a number of different ingredients. And that includes probiotics, that includes phytogenics, essential oils, that includes medicines that are approved in aquaculture. This is really key. There are a lot of medicines that work for some of the trickier fish diseases, but they're heavily regulated and they can of course cause environmental pollution. But with our technology, we can massively increase the efficiency and reduce the amount that's needed. We are looking at down the horizon in the future, encapsulating antigens as well. There's some potential to be developing vaccines. So basically the spectrum of aquatic animal health we think can be addressed with our encapsulation technology.
That's very exciting. And I can understand how your background in medicine and your co-founders' backgrounds in nanotechnology and molecular biology would help you to come up with this solution. But how did you get into the ocean sustainability space to begin with, to identify this as a problem?
Yeah, so, we're all passionate outdoors people. My own personal journey is that I grew up in California. I spent a lot of time at the coast. When I was in college and graduate school, I spent a lot of time working on ocean issues. So in addition to medical school, I went to environmental school, did a bit of work in acidification, and then about a decade ago, ended up at the World Bank working on global environmental change portfolios, which included climate change, oceans, aquaculture. And in doing that, really reinforced some of the issues that we're facing, and came to realize that there are urgent needs to address in this space if we're going to feed people, if we're going to address these sustainability issues. And I felt as though my particular skill set was better lent to this world of entrepreneurism rather than working in international finance at a place like the World Bank.
Certainly. I can understand the mission behind BioFeyn quite well. Now, you have a number of different potential additives. How do you get them to the fish? Do you provide these to the farmers? Will you become a fish feed company? What's the plan in order to make sure fish are getting optimum delivery of this system?
Man, you're really asking us to give away our whole business here.
I mean,
No,
there's a number of different ways, obviously, and I'm sure it will change over time. But you know, in the initial go-to-market plan, you could, you know, highlight what that is, and then maybe what the grand scheme is as well.
absolutely. I mean, there are many different ways to address this. You know, one of which, of course, is going directly to feed producers. It is these folks that have global reach to the farmers of the world. There are, you know, many tens of thousands of fish farmers, shrimp farmers, crustacean farmers around the world. There are many fewer feed producers. Feed producers are, by and large, big agri-tech industrial companies, places like that you've probably heard of, you know, someplace like Cargill or something that produces animal feed for chickens and cows as well. And so going directly to them is the most efficient avenue, because then you can reach all of these farmers. That being said, there is a pathway to working with farmers, either individually or through trade organizations that represent a number of farmers, and developing specialized products for farmer needs.
And you mentioned a number of different kinds of seafood that I think most of us are familiar with seeing on menus. How is this technology applicable to these other species? You mentioned salmon at the very beginning, but it sounds like this will be something that can be used across the board for a number of different species.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. You know, we're starting with salmon, and there's a number of reasons for that. It's a big market, and it's well parameterized, and there's a lot of need. But you know, fish are living organisms that are plagued by similar problems: bacterial diseases, viral diseases, different kinds of infections by virtue of being raised in open systems. Other challenges when they are raised in closed systems, recirculating aquaculture systems. The beauty of this technology is that it can be applied across any of these because it is a platform. Once the encapsulation method is developed, you can mix and match. It's modular. So you can put in different ingredients inside these capsules, specialize the capsules, and deliver them to different species depending on the need.
Oh, so let's say we wanted to deliver omega-3s to a different type of fish even. We could perhaps even increase the nutrient profile beyond what naturally would be from its fish diet.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
No?
So it's you know, you can really create sort of a whole new ecosystem of enhanced fish, and I mean enhanced in the best, most nutritious way, not in the weird biotech. So.
Right. And I think, yeah, no, that's a good point. There's no actual genetic modification either on the cargo or in the fish that are receiving this product, correct?
No, we're using all natural ingredients. And in fact, the capsules that we're using are in fact made from already approved ingredients in the space. And in some cases, they will be made from marine-derived ingredients themselves. Some of the waste products associated with other dimensions of aquaculture can in fact be used to build these capsules.
Wonderful. I just have one more question. I want to take a journey into the future with you and go 5 years out. I wonder how you will see the technology have evolved at this point, and how BioFeyn will have evolved as a company at that point.
Absolutely. Well, the technology we anticipate will be at a point where it is fully modular, and we have recipes for any different species need, any different challenge in the space, whether that be nutritional or infectious. And so farmers or feed producers will be able to come to us and say, look, you know, we're having a problem with X and X in this part of the world. We need something. And we'll say, well, great. You need fine number 36445, you know, and we'll dispense that, and they'll feed it to their fish, and fish will get happier and healthier, and the farmers will get happier and healthier, and have more money and more nutrition. So that's the vision with this, you know. And there's so many emergent technologies that are popping up in the aquaculture space that we can work with, and entrepreneurs that we can collaborate with, folks that are working on aquaculture health and data analytics, aquaculture companies that are producing new types of ingredients from insects. There's so many different ways that we can come together and produce a more sustainable ecosystem for aquaculture. And then from there, really that's just the beginning. We eat fish, that's important, and these other species. But the ocean, really, it's the lifeblood of, life on Earth. All humans, we're 3/4 saltwater, and the reason we are is because we came out of the ocean. There's so much that can be done with that kind of understanding of the marine environment and combining it with these latest biotechnologies that can be used for our human health and biomedicine as well.
Wonderful. That's a great vision, and I wish you luck on your journey. Thank you so much for taking time. I know all of the CEOs of the IndieBio companies are extraordinarily busy. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks.